Hey, Rick Crosslin here with Rick Crosslin Science. And today we're going to do one of my favorite activities, something I've done with thousands of kids for many, many years, and it's called the Aqua Terra project. And wait till you see what it's about. Let's get started, okay? So the Aqua Terra project, as you see here, has to do with aqua, which is water, and terra, which is soil. And it's one of my favorite projects because it involves living creatures. And if you know anything about me or this setup behind me, you know that I love tropical fish. I've had the unique opportunity to go to Brazil, to the rainforest, and meet some wonderful people there and see some amazing fish from the tropical rainforest of the Amazon basin. In fact, there's more different species of fish scientists have discovered and many undiscovered than probably in the oceans. It's a very diverse place. So today, we're going to make a model, a science model of the Aqua Terra, or the plant and animal biome. And so it's going to be kind of fun. There's a few things you'll need. I'll show you right here. We're going to use some 2-liter bottles, some string, some gravel, a hole punch, soil, maybe some seeds, some aquatic plants, some aquatic creatures, a marker, and a drill. But I think we ought to start with, basically, I've got a 2-liter bottle here. And you're going to need two 2-liter bottles. And so the cheaper ones, the better. And there's a little bit about a bottle. When you get this bottle, or recycle it, you want to wash it out with warm water, not soap. In fact, these come with a label around them and a little bit of glue on this side. And if you fill this with hot water from your sink, like 110 degrees, fill it up and pull it. You can pull that off in one piece very easily. So you need 2 clear 2-liter bottles. Now, if you don't have a clear one, you need at least 1 clear one. If you have a green one or some other color, you could use that, but it's better to have 2. All right, so let's take a look at something I like to call the anatomy of the bottle. And I was taught this by a pretty amazing scientist and teacher by the name of Dr. Paul Williams, who taught at the University of Wisconsin. And he actually wrote a book called Bottle Biology, with all kinds of cool things to do with recycled bottles. So let's take a look here at, the anatomy of a bottle. So you see this bottle right here. Any bottle that you find, we have a base, we have the body, we have the shoulder, the neck, and the lid. And those are kind of important because we're going to be making some cuts on these here. And so you'll need 2 of these. And the first cut we're going to make is going to be right here on the shoulder, not on the body and not way up, but right about there, because we're going to be needing 2 bottoms. In fact, before we get finished with this, you're going to have a bottle that looks like this. Let's see, right about here. It's going to be a one that's cut like that. Oh, can you see that? There we go. And come on down here like this, and there's the bottom of it. Now, I use the cheaper ones. If you use there's a certain brand, Coca-Cola, that has the classic shape of a bottle, kind of indented. That doesn't work because it distorts the view. So the cheaper bottles, the cheaper soft drinks or cola are what I need. So there's one. Then we're going to get another one, or cut our second one off right here. And this one. Okay, so you have, and this one, you want to cut higher up on the shoulder. So this one right here is going to be our aqua, which means water. And this one's going to be our terra, which means land. Okay, so we have the 2, and then you'll have a lid left over. And I like to use the lid from this guy right here because this lid will be nice and flat. Okay. All right, so there's one lid. So you'll have, those are the three parts you're going to end up with. Now, it's kind of important to remember that the Terra goes on top. And so the Terra is going to have a hole drilled right here. We're going to drill a hole right there through the bottom. Don't drill a hole in the Aqua. That would not be good. Let me show you what one of these looks like as a finished project. There's one of my sixth grade students that made his and finished his, but it's going to end up looking like this. And if you take a look at this right here, there is the Terra on top, the lid on top, and the Aqua down below. And so here's another view of it. There's the Aqua down below, and finally we have the entire system, Aqua Terra column. So we're going to do this step by step, and the first thing we're going to do is take a look at this bottom. Okay, so here's the bottom, or the base. Here is the body and the shoulder and the neck. So if you have a marker, because it's important that on the Aqua, don't put a hole in the Aqua, that you mark this, that you mark it right before you hit the body, not at the shoulder, right before you hit the body. Check this out right here. So you see, so here it starts to curve up. So I'm going to mark it not on the body, but there's right about there is the line, but I'm going to cut above that right there. So I'm going to cut above where it starts to slope. Now, there's kind of an art to cutting these. You won't believe this, but since scissors are actually levers, when you cut with scissors, you want to make sure that if you cut it a certain way, you're going to get a jagged. If you cut it another way, you're going to get a smooth cut. Trust me, most people don't follow this, but it will work. So you're going to take this out. It's kind of hard to cut on a round surface. So if you take the lid off, and I've marked where I want to cut it. I want to cut it right about there, above the body. I'm going to squeeze it right here like this. See how I squeezed it? When I squeeze it, I'm going to take my scissors, and this might be easier on this camera. I'm going to take my scissors right here, and I'm going to cut right there. Make a cut. Just a little bit. It's kind of hard to cut because that lever is kind of tough, but I made a cut right there. And then the fun part comes. How are you going to inflate it again? Well, the best way to inflate this is a clean one, is to grab this like this and give it a very robust burst of air. Ready? And when you do that, it pops it back out. So now we have to find where that hole was that I made. Here you go. Oh, look, I got my scissors in there now. See, I got my scissors in that hole. Now, most people, almost everybody, would start to cut this going across the top. They would probably cut like this because that just seems the normal way to do. But if you cut across the top of it, it's going to be jagged if you're right-handed. Now, if you're using left-handed scissors, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it'll be the opposite. So I'm right-handed scissors. I'm going to cut along the bottom. I'm going to cut along the bottom. By doing that, I will make a nice, smooth cut. It will not be jagged. And here I have now just finished my Aqua part. And the Aqua part is kind of cool because that's where all the living creatures are going to go. I got a lid that I can save, and that lid, which we'll use later. Okay, so there's our first step. Pretty easy. Make your cut, and make sure your Aqua is above, that it's above the shoulder right there, okay? Make it above the shoulder. All right. Okay, so let's see here. There we go, above the shoulder. All right, so there's the one part. The second part, and I've already cut this, is another bottom. So there's my second one, so we don't need to cut this right now. And we're going to do something different to this one. This one can be, this going to be at the body if you like. But you have to drill a hole in the bottom. And have your mom or dad help you with that. You can, if you don't have a drill, you can heat up a nail. Dr. Williams showed me to heat up a nail. You have a heat source and wear goggles. But if I'm going to drill this, I'm going to drill a small hole in the bottom of this. And there's a little nub right there. So it doesn't have to be exactly on the nub. Okay, and the hole doesn't have to be that big, but this is probably the hardest part of the project for me because I have a piece of twine. Now, this is going to be our wick, and so this wick has to go in here on the bottom. And it's kind of hard for me because I got big old fingers, but you guys can actually push that in there, put your hand inside and pull it out. Now, I like to make it long. I can cut it off later. Okay, so now we have our Terra, we have our Aqua Terra project. Okay, it's time now to, let's do the Terra first. So the Terra, I'm going to set this right here. And since this is a model, now all science models can do some things well, but they have limitations. So the first thing about this is we have the water, the life below the land, and usually we have the water above the land. So once you make this, I have a bunch of lessons on how to compare and contrast, make a Venn diagram of how this is alike and not alike the world outside. So this is kind of cool. So we have a wick that's going to pull up water. First thing I want to do is I want to put some gravel because the earth has layers, strata. And I'm going to put some rocks or gravel. Doesn't matter what type. And then I'm going to put, if you don't have, you can just go get rocks out of your yard. And I have some soil. I'm going to add some soil to this. And then I'm going to shake it down. And I'm going to pull my wick down. See, I got too much wick in there. I want this wick to be, but don't pull it out. If you pull it out, you have to start over. So I'm just pulling it down just a little bit below, and that's way too long. So I'm going to get my scissors right here and cut this off. So it's only about 5 inches. There. I have a nice wick hanging down. And now the fun part comes. I have some things to plant in here. I have some lima bean and a couple lima beans, maybe a pinto beans. You can plant about anything you want in here. So you go ahead and plant it. I'm going to move it apart, plant it like normal. You would any plant. Put it down below the soil. And now I'm going to add some water to this. Now this is kind of is critical if you ask me. So I'm going to pour some water through this. And what's going to happen is you're going to see the water start to go through here. And the water is actually going to, well, it's going to be dirty at first. So it's always good to pour a little bit of this water through here to kind of clean the, I'm going to set that right there. Clean the waterway, because you're not going to be pouring a lot of water through this, but at first you want to get some water to get those seeds to grow. And so here we go. I'm going to pour it gently and through here, and it'll start coming out. And look how it's pretty clear. That's why it's good to have at the bottom the gravel. So I've watered this, and I'm going to set that aside because my Terra part is ready to go. Just needs sunshine, and those seeds will germinate and be ready to go. So I'll set that off to the side. Now let's get back to our aqua, which is the part I like the best, actually. So to make this model, we're going to put a little bit of gravel on the bottom. And now, if you just get gravel out of your yard, you want to make sure you know what kind of rocks you're getting. Limestone rock is pretty good, but you want to rinse it off to make it look clear. A lot of gravel you can buy at a pet store. It comes pre-washed. I'm going to put some water in here. Now, I've already conditioned this water. That means I've conditioned this water, which means that I have put a chemical in there that causes when you drink water out of your faucet, the water company has put some chloramines, which are a liquid material that kill bacteria, and they dissolve mucous membranes on organisms, which makes the water safe for you to drink. Too much is not good for you, but fish and animals that you have in your Aqua Terra column, you don't want to have that water from the sink right away. So there's three ways you can do it. You can collect rainwater or pond water. That's natural. You can get some water and let it stand overnight if they use chlorine gas, but you don't know. Or you can add a couple drops of some water conditioner and then use your regular water. So that's what I've done. I've used some water conditioner. So we're going to put some animals in here. And the first thing I want to do is I have some aquatic plants. And this is some stuff. This is Java fern. I'm going to put that in here. It can be floating or it can be at the bottom. It doesn't have to be rooted. I have some Java. Let me just show you what I have. I have Java fern and Java moss, and even something called, which is kind of cool, which is Java. There's the Java moss. and I have Java fern, and I got a couple snails. Now, if I had time, if you're not near a pond or a lake, you could go scoop up some mud and some cool creatures and fill your terra with that. Put it in the sunlight, and you'll be amazed. So if you don't have these plants, go with your mom and dad. Go find a pond nearby, and you'll be amazed at what's living in there. So I got that, and plus my 3 snails I'm going to put in there, some pond snails. And now I'm going to add some more water to this. And let's see, here we go. Some more water. And I like to put as much water as possible. Sometimes the kids, they don't put that much water in it. But I like a lot of water because here's my saying. The solution, no, a solution to pollution is dilution. The best solution to pollution is don't pollute. But what I mean by that is if you add more water, the more water you add, the better for this ecosystem, this little biome right here, or this little habitat. All nice words that I want you to probably study about. Okay, check this out. So now I have gravel, snails, 2 types of plants, and it's time to add, and I happen to have here a betta splendens. This is not from Brazil. This is from Thailand. It's a beautiful, beautiful fish. This is a male. Now, the reason why these fish will be just fine in here is because these fish have gills, but they also have, a betta also has a special organ up in its brain called a labyrinth. So you'll see your betta come up and gulp air, and it puts that air up into a special organ in its brain that gives oxygen to the brain. Of course, you probably know that of all the organs in your body, the thing that needs oxygen first is your brain. So these fish have an adaptation. They have gills, but they also have that little labyrinth organ where they can gulp air. Now, why do they have that? Because in their natural habitat, they live in swampy areas that are totally overgrown. I mean, you can't even, some places, see 2 or 3 inches without plants, and there's hardly any oxygen in the water. So they have evolved to have this organ that they can survive by gulping atmospheric air and bringing in. That's why a betta is a good candidate for this guy right here. Oh, there he is. See, he's coming. He's pretty curious. I just saw him. Now, it's really hard to turn fish. I just saw him gulp some water, and there he is right there. So cool, this guy. So there is your aqua part, okay? And now let's see if we can add our terra, which I have right here. And what I like to do, I like to make a couple holes, punch a couple holes with a hole punch around here, at least 4, because when you put on, or maybe 8, when you put on the top part, it could block off the oxygen, so the holes will help. And I'll set this, look, it's dripping through capillary action. And because I cut it on the, because I cut it above the shoulder, it does not fall in. That is so cool. And then you can turn, put the lid upside down on it. And sometimes I take string and I tie the string on the Aqua Terra and weave it on through. And I hang it, and that's what you saw on this image right here. See how it's hanging? I tied the string to the aqua up through and put it by a window. And there you have your Aqua Terra column. It's a fun thing to make. I'd like to share one more thing with you before I go. And now that you've made this really pretty amazing thing, maybe we should learn a little bit about it. Like it is a model. It is a model. So if it's a model, it does some things really well, but others it doesn't. So it is a model. So let's talk about a word called abiotic. Abiotic is, and this is a word that I use in 5th and 6th grade, abiotic factors. Abiotic factors are those things that are not living in a niche or in a habitat. And then, so the non-living things, now, I don't like to use non-living. In 5th and 6th grade, you want to use biotic and abiotic. Because if something is dead, it's not living, but it used to be. But if it's abiotic, it never has been alive. So in our little Aqua Terra project, and I'm going to call it the Aqua Terra project, The things that are abiotic, non-living, are the water, non-living, the plastic container, non-living, any gas that's in there, and the two gases, because you can use this to study the oxygen cycle, the carbon dioxide cycle, the water cycle. Water's going to evaporate up and catch in that lid. So the gases, O2, oxygen, and CO2 are abiotic. Oh, the rocks are abiotic. All of these things are non-living. The light and the temperature. Just because it's an abiotic factor, that still is something that an ecosystem needs. So those are abiotic factors. And now let's talk about our biotic factors, which are pretty cool. In my particular one, biotic means that at one time they're living, or like a piece of wood is a biotic factor. It's decomposing. In ours, we have the aquatic plants. That means the plants that live in the water. I also have some bean plants, some bean seeds that are going to turn into plants, I hope. And I also have, the soil. Soil, we'll talk about soil in just a minute. I'm going to put soil right here. Soil. Where does it go? Abiotic or biotic? We also have the creatures, the animals or the organisms, that when we have two types, we have invertebrates, inverts, and we have a vertebrate. A vertebrate are those with backbones, and so that is our fish. We have one fish, and our invertebrates that we have are the snails. Now there might be other critters too that develop in here, but there is our Aqua Terra column. It's easy to make using recycled materials. If you don't have a fish or plants at home, be a great time to go visit a pond with your mom and dad's help, or a lake, and just a small scoop of the mud and the plants at the bottom. It's going to be all messed up at first, but it'll settle out if you put it in the light, because remember, on any ecosystem, sunlight provides the energy for growth, for photosynthesis, for the oxygen cycle, for the carbon cycle. Without the sun, we'd be in big trouble. Without water, the currency of life, we would be in big trouble. Without oxygen and carbon dioxide, it's a whole circle of life. And with this project, you can study all those Earth cycles right in your own home. Hey, hope you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. I'll see you next time.